When you hear virtual reality, you probably think about kids with crazy headsets lost in a world of gaming make-believe. But in reality, there is a whole virtual world that's very real. Newswatch at Noon in-depth reporter Josh Gregory joins us live from the place where that world is created, Ohio University's Game Research and Immersive Design Lab. Josh?
Picture this. When you put on this headset, you're thrown into a virtual reality. No matter where you are physically, you can see and hear the trauma room of a hospital, or you're taking a stroll in Coolville. Ohio University students are making this possible by using cutting-edge technology for medical training and rural storytelling.
No secret that we are living in the digital age.
You know, it's not just enough to write a story anymore that you can read on a cell phone or, make a short video, but let's create a real immersive experience that people can interact with.
Journalism professor Hans Meyer is one of many that teach students how to use immersive technology in their fields.
By its very immersive nature, I think virtual reality makes learning easier.
This is Ohio University's Game Research and Immersive Design Lab, or GRID Lab. Students here agree with Meyer, but they define virtual reality a little differently.
Reality, which is a word that the GRID Lab coined that means experiencing before experiencing.
Junior Caitlin Emter and senior Henry Reber are creating pre-ality for nurses who need to learn how to deal with trauma cases, the kind of injuries that nurses might face in an emergency room. The goal is to give them training to be certified as trauma nurses. Associate Professor Eric Williams oversees these projects at Ohio University.
How did you get that project to go to San Francisco?
The faculty would go out and find projects like the Zuckerberg project, and then we will teach students in class, like Caitlin and Henry, how VR works, and then we will introduce them into these projects.
Basically what we're doing for the hospital is we are going into their trauma center and we are creating a virtual reality database that they can use for training purposes.
But we're looking at collecting maybe 7 stabbings, a couple gunshots, a car accident or 2, bike accident or 2.
You're never going to be in that head nurse position until you work your way there. You're never going to understand that point of view until you're actually there. But when we create this virtual reality perspective from the head nurse's point of view, we could put that registered nurse in training into that perspective, and they can view what this nurse is doing, how they handle, who they're talking to, how everybody in the room is operating, what they're looking at.
The project will show 5 different points of view. 4 will be from the nurse's perspective, and 1 will show what the patient is looking at. This is how Weber and Emter are experimenting with empathy for what a trauma patient goes through.
So one of our cameras is at the head of the bed, right next to the patient's eyes, really. And it's angled so that when you have a virtual reality headset on, you have to lay down. And so those videos are going to be distributed to students who are going to be taking some kind of empathy training. And the students themselves are going to wear some kind of suit, right, that will be cut off at the same time that the doctors cut off the patient's clothes in the video, because that happens in a trauma room. And they are going to experience fully what it is like to be a patient.
We were finding that it's taking the first-year medical students a third of their time to get acclimated to the place. Well, imagine if they were acclimated using pre-ality before they got there. Then day one, they're ready to learn.
The value to the students is learning that there's a lot more than just being able to play with high-tech toys to make this work.
To us, it's not necessarily about the technology, it's about teaching students about the technology.
The students spend the majority of their time planning and preparing these projects.
This project has had months of planning. There's always a fear when you're working with virtual reality that what you're making isn't real enough. And we always have these debates. You have to focus a lot of times on one sense that you want to attack.
And with this project, the focus is the patient. In addition to the challenges of 360 video, each project offers unique challenges that students have to work around, such as the size and position of cameras, certifications, and dealing with sensitive situations, such as a trauma room.
It was important for us to have small and lightweight cameras that we could position within the trauma center so they're not in the way of the actual nurses trying to save someone's life. The person's life foremost, who comes into the trauma center, like they are obviously priority. Who cares about our production at that point?
It's never been done. We did it, the very first group to ever have done it was us when we did it at Grant Hospital. And nobody's doing this. And one reason is because it's really difficult legally. You have to get, I mean, we've been working on the legal aspects longer than we work on the production aspects because we're talking about real patients.
Not every student is using virtual reality technology to help save lives. Some students are using simple virtual reality cameras that plug into their phone to show charming Southeast Ohio towns like this one here in Coolville.
We're using relatively simple technology and software to create these virtual reality community profiles. So if you see it, for example, you'll be dropped like right into the middle of the community, and as you look around in the headset, you can focus and stare at certain points on the screen and open up other parts of that community.
Meyer wants his students to use immersive technology to present smaller towns and cities in a unique way that's easily accessible. The goal is to bring people who'd never visit a rural area into Southeast Ohio's communities.
It's hard for big news organizations to get to some of the small towns. So I think I saw VR as kind of a solution for them to be able to immerse themselves in a community and interact with people in the community. This also gives residents a chance to kind of define the community and how they want people looking in to see them.
Most of Meyer's students have never picked up a VR camera. Senior Jackson Schroeder says he never thought VR could work with rural areas.
What it's really effective at, what I've found, is that through virtual reality and 360 video, it puts you in a place where a written story or maybe a video story in 2D can't really put you. I think that it could have like implications that'll change the world a lot, but really we don't know.
Schroeder is a journalism major who says virtual reality will play a big part in the way media is produced and consumed in the near future.
VR is really good at putting people in a place where they've never been before. So even if you're like, oh, I've never been to Bermuda, I wonder what that's like. A written story can only tell you so much, but if you're set on a beach in Bermuda and you're going around and you can pretty much be there and feel like you're there, you know that environment way better than you would by reading or seeing a clip of something in 2D.
I haven't heard of any other schools on the East Coast that have a virtual reality program that comes even close to OU. What Ohio University is doing right now with virtual reality is pretty unparalleled.
M. Turn Weber told us when the Immersive Media Initiative began, they had to go out and search for projects. But over the past couple months, they've had to turn down projects because of the Grid Lab's growing reputation.
Josh, it's no doubt that these students are gaining valuable skills by working on these projects. But do they plan to expand on their experiences after graduation?
Well, when we first sat down with Henry, he said he was unsure whether or not he wanted to use VR at all when he graduates in May. But recently, he announced via social media that he accepted a position at a VR neurological rehabilitation company in Fort Worth, Texas. Reporting live for Newswatch at Noon In Depth, I'm Josh Gregory.
Thanks, Josh.